The longship groaned as it kissed the rotting timbers of the dock, its dragon-headed prow veiled in sea fog that clung like a shroud. Ravens circled overhead, silent, watchful, casting jagged shadows over shields slick with brine and blood, long dried to rust. His boots struck the planks with a hollow thud, each step heavier than the last. The warriors behind him moved like ghosts, hollow-eyed, their shoulders bowed beneath more than the weight of mail. No horns hailed their return, no children ran to gawk. Villagers melted into doorways, faces averted, eyes lowered, even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Smoke from the hearths curled low and listless, as though the settlement itself dared not rise too high. A single raven alighted on a nearby post, its beak stained dark, not with berry juice. Something was buried here, and it wasn't just the dead. Every door along the lane stood shut tight, bolts drawn like clenched teeth. Whispers slithered through cracks in the Anapadu earth, walls, fragments of fear, fragments of betrayal. He caught the flicker of an eye behind a shutter, the hurried retreat of a familiar face. His hand drifted to the hilt of his sword, not in threat but by instinct, the way a man touches a wound before he feels the pain. Then from the shadow of the smithy, a figure stepped forward. Bjorn, his oath brother, his shield mate at the ford of Skirnir. The man, his jaw worked in silence before he spoke, his voice low as a gravedigger's prayer. They say the gods turn their backs on you at sea, that your longship return not by favor, but by curse. A pause, heavy as a burial stone. Harald the Red sits in your hall. He calls himself king now, and the people, they listen. The words landed like ice in his gut. Not just exile, erasure. The great hall loomed ahead, its timbered throat swallowing the last of the daylight. Inside, the air hung thick with wood smoke, and the sour tang of mead long turned. Embers hissed in the central hearth, casting long, trembling shadows that clawed at the walls lined with axes, each one a silent verdict. Men sat shoulder to shoulder on benches, faces carved from stone, eyes fixed, not in welcome, but in wary judgment. At the high seat, slouched like a wolf on stolen ground, sat Harald the Red. His beard was braided with silver rings, his cloak stitched from the banners of fallen jarls. He didn't rise, didn't blink. "You come back empty-handed," he called, his voice slick as wet iron. "No plunder, no glory, only ghosts." A murmur rippled through the hall, less dissent, more dread. The sea spat you out because the gods saw your weakness. And now you crawl home, expecting us to kneel. The warrior stood unmoved, but inside, the ground had cracked. It wasn't just the throne they had given away. It was his name, his worth, the very breath of his honor, and the silence of his people was louder than any blade. Just as his fingers tightened on the hilt, the hall doors exploded inward, not with raiders, but with a child, barefoot and gasping, clutching a bloodied cedar cloak. Behind her, the night sky split open. The aurora writhed crimson, and the great ash tree on the hill, Yggdrasil's last sapling, collapsed in a shower of blackened leaves. Silence shattered. Harald flinched, his bravado cracking like thin ice. The girl raised a trembling hand, pointing not at the usurper, but at the returning warrior. "The Norn sent me," she whispered, her voice echoing too deep for her ears. "You were never lost. You were chosen." A hush fell, heavier than before, this time not of judgment, but of dread. The gods hadn't abandoned him. They had been waiting. The girl's words hung like frost in the smoky air. Then the hearth fire roared, as if the hall itself had drawn breath. Harald surged to his feet, hand flying to his sword. But the warrior moved first, not with rage, but with terrible calm. He strode forward, boots crushing embers, eyes fixed on the usurper as throne. The crowd parted like water before a blade. From the shadows behind the high seat, a torch clattered to the floor, its flame licking at spilled mead, then straw, then the edge of Harald's stolen cloak. Fire climbed the walls, painting the faces of the hall in flickering gold and gore. The warrior reached the dais, drew his axe, not in threat, but in silence, and let it fall. The blade struck the stone with a crack like splitting bone. As smoke coiled toward the rafters, a raven dropped from the burning beams and landed at his feet, wings folded, eyes gleaming. He knelt, not in submission, but to whisper into the ash, "By blood and bone, I take back what was mine."